type of journey I've been on these past few years has been actually quite life-changing, just because of the difficulties that we faced. My husband was deployed to Iraq 4 years ago, and that was a huge one. Before that, we had some marriage things we had to work through. And God used all of those events to totally chisel and change me into a completely different person. I came out on the other side with God's help, being more self-sufficient, more comfortable in who I am and my abilities, and I learned lots of things that I would have never learned unless those things happened. So I'm just kind of, I'm thankful for those trials, and I would never want to not have gone through them. When I was young, I grew up with a Catholic grandma, and she's 92 now. I just went to visit her in New Hampshire, and she's awesome. And she's always been the person who I've always wanted to be like, and it's because she loves God and she loves people, and she's always done everything for other people all these years. And she's always been my mentor, and she always would take me to folk services when I was a kid. And then my parents got divorced when I was 9, and we had to move far away from her. And when we moved, I felt like there was it was a huge void. Like I didn't have that in my life anymore, because my mom wouldn't take us to church. So I grew up without that, searching for that, and then the next person that had that in my life was my husband's mom, and she was just wonderful. And when I met her, she reminded me a lot of my grandma, and she loved God and she loved people, and she didn't have anything, and she gave all she had to other people. And so I'm like, wow, the void that's been gone is kind of, I want that, you know. And so when we were dating, I went to church with them a few times, and my husband and I didn't really come to Christ until later, after we'd been married. And turning to faith for me was when my husband had his hearing loss issue. And it's very unusual, I know, for people to actually turn to God at the same time. But it was really cool that that happened to us. And so when that happened, we sought out a church when we were down in Mankato. We lived down there for 8 years. And then we moved up here, and we looked for a church that was similar. Well, one of them, of course, is my grandmother. And another person is Pastor Ken Abramson. He has been a huge transforming factor in my life. And Mari Ludwig. They've all kind of been through all of my hard stuff with me, and have seen me and my family come out on the other side. And I'm just very thankful to them for the time they've poured into me, and they still pour into me, and for just being there when we were going through our valleys. Every time I'm with my students, he transforms me. This last week on a missions trip, I was just amazed at these kids. I mean, 7th, 8th grade kids that served and gave their hearts to God all week long and worked very hard at serving LifeSpring Church. It was just, it's amazing. Every time I'm around them, I'm just amazed at how they can give and be so young. And you know, if they can do it, I certainly can. This year, I had never been convicted like I had been this year, because so many of our students are getting baptized. And I thought, you know, these are 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, and I haven't professed my faith yet in that manner. And I thought now's just as good a time as any, because I want to be that good example for them.
Kellie Strong, I baptize you in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.